When the old Mrs. Wilson heard that Noah asked her to sell furniture or antiques, she didn't get angry. She angrily said, "I can bear selling furniture, don't even think about selling antiques. Those are the coffin books your dad left me when he died." Noah hurriedly persuaded, "Mom, this person is still the most important thing when you are alive. Are you hiding those antiques until you bring them back to Dad? Don't bullshit." Old Mrs. Wilson cursed angrily, and shouted, "Do you know what a bullshit? These furniture are all registered in the bank. Once the bank comes to seal up, they will definitely buckle this batch of furniture. But those antiques, the bank doesn't know that, once we are finally unable to recover and the house is taken away by the bank, those antiques can be used to save lives." Noah realized this. Selling furniture now is tantamount to secretly disposing of the mortgaged things to the bank in advance, which is regarded as making up for the loss. But now selling antiques, once the people in the bank know that they are worried about it, they may have to find all these antiques by digging the ground. Therefore, this antique cannot be sold as a last resort. Therefore, Noah hurriedly complimented and said, "Mom, you think more comprehensively, I will listen to you." Old Mrs. Wilson snorted coldly and said, "Had you listened to me and gave me the money, today will not be like now." Thinking of the Wilson family's severance of financial resources and the tragic situation of being heavily in debt, Mrs. Wilson jumped angrily. And all of this is thanks to Noah's wife, Horiah. If it weren't for Horiah's B*TCH to run away with money, how could the Wilson family be reduced to its current miserable situation? Moreover, Mrs. Wilson had thought about it a long time ago and asked her son to take out $8 million first, and first repay part of the bank's foreign debt, and then drag it for a while to find other solutions. But now, everything has fallen through. There is no money for money, no people for money, and the bank has urged to come to the door. The entire Wilson family is already in a depressed state. The older Mrs. Wilson wanted to get more and more angry. She couldn't help but slapped the table and cursed, "Horiah, this bitch. How come I haven't noticed that she is a natural rebellion? She and Elaine, the B*TCH, are just like the same raccoon. Let her marry into the Wilson family. This is the decision I regret in my life. I should have driven her out of the Wilson family and starved her to death on the street." Speaking of this, Mrs. Wilson bit her posterior molars and said angrily, "This B*TCH is cool now." More than $2 million in cash in her hand, she also has a little white face. I don't know where she is living happy now. Old Mrs. Wilson didn't know that at this moment, her daughter-in-law Horiah was much worse than Wilson's family. Every day, she digs coal in the dark coal kiln. She has to wear 12 kilograms of cast iron shackles on her feet. It is impossible to rest if she does not work for 12 hours a day. Her hands and feet are worn out with blood blisters. Flesh and blood. Moreover, the owner of mine where Horiah is relocated to is very cruel, and arranged a fierce supervisor for the group of laborers Mr. Orville had sent over. They were beaten up for their coal mining activities. If they were dissatisfied, they used the whip to lash them hard. Horiah used to be properly maintained, and she could be said to have the charm at the age of 40 or 50. So when she arrived at the black coal kiln, she was remembered by the overseer. Originally, she didn't look down on the dirty and smelly overseer and would rather die. Not willing to let him touch. However, after being beaten maliciously several times by the opponent and deliberately hungry several times, she completely compromised and became the C0N of the overseer in the black coal mine. After being a C0N for a supervisor, although she had some relief from physical labor, she suffered mentally. Originally, she was also a woman worth tens of millions and living in a villa every day, so she was a half-laden woman. But now, in a dim, dirty, and even smelly tiled house, trying her best to cater to the dirty old supervisor with her body is simply the greatest torment in the world. But in order to live, in order not to be beaten or go hungry, Horiah can only choose to compromise. However, at this time, the Wilson family, how did they know that she was suffering and insulted like this? They thought she was lying in a five-star hotel, being served hard by a lover who was 20 years younger than her. Therefore, the old Mrs. Wilson cursed Horiah bitterly. Noah and his sons and daughters heard this. Not only were they not angry, but they were also aroused by anger and dissatisfaction in their hearts. To say that the most miserable person was Horiah, who belonged to Noah's family. For Noah, both people and wealth are empty, and all day long wondering whether Horiah would go crazy looking for young guys outside with the 10 million, and wear countless green hats on. The reason why Harold and Wendy hate Horiah is very simple, that is money. Without the money, the Wilson family was struggling. Even with the two rich second generations of them, they were desperate like dogs. The more they lived, the more they were suffocated. Damn, Horiah, this B*TCH, if I get her one day, I have to break her leg, otherwise I can't get out of this nasty breath. Noah gritted his teeth and cursed loudly. After the cursing, he took out his phone and said angrily, "I'm looking for a car. I will take these furniture to the furniture store tomorrow morning and let people give an estimate. If it's appropriate, then sell directly.